Welcome back, Bear Down. As always, thank you for everyone tuning in. If you haven't subscribed by now, please consider doing so. You might want to listen to the whole thing before you do, but don't forget to at the end. And please hit that like button if you do like what I'm doing, because I do appreciate it getting around to other people, and it helps spread what I'm doing so I can do it more. With that, we're focusing today on the guards heading into the combine. We've done a couple of these videos so far, one on wide receiver, one on centers. This is an entire list of all the offensive linemen invited to the combine. I'm not going to break it up into segments. You can look over that if you want to. But I want to focus today on the guards that we're going to be focusing on, because with my video yesterday and with the stuff that I've been putting out, there's clear need for the Bears at wide receiver, center, and guard. Those are the clear needs that the Bears have this offseason. So going into the combine, it makes sense to analyze these guys and focus on them. This won't be a long video, but I do want to show you some key statistics from guys that I'm looking at guard. And this isn't a class like last year where you could have had O'Cyrus Torrence going in the first round. You could have had some players up there in the first, top of the second. Most of these guards are considered second, third round, really, guards in this draft, even into the fourth round. So here's your key hitters. And one that I want to highlight is Mason McCormick, who is for South Dakota State, I believe, the Jackrabbits. He's climbing boards quickly, and I can see why. I hadn't really looked into him too much. I'm going to start looking into him more now. But he has a sack hit hurry allowed of 108 snaps. That's kind of Jackson Powers Johnson-ish, but he plays for South Dakota State. And it's hard to gauge those things. It's kind of the same thing as the whole Braxton Jones thing, where Braxton Jones came from a really small school, Southern Utah University. Well, same thing with South Dakota State, maybe even a little bit smaller. I don't know how big those two schools are compared to each other, to be honest. But I know they're both small schools. They're both playing lower competition. So is Mason McCormick just this beast that's playing low competition and outshining? Or when he's playing Pac-12, Big Ten, SEC type of players in the NFL, is he going to get mulled over and just absolutely blown away? Don't know. That's going to be Ryan Poles' job to figure that stuff out. I'm just giving you some stuff on guys that I see that I want to pay attention to and see as they progress through this scenario. What does worry me a little bit is there's not one of these huge prospects that would be a first or second rounder. If you look at the top 20 guards from this last year in 2023, according to PFF, 6 of them came from the first round in the draft in their prospective drafts. 5 of them came from the second round. 4 came from the third round. So the majority of them, 75% of them, came from the first 2 days of the draft. Well, the only guys that are in those first 2 days of the draft are these guys, and we don't really have any high-end prospects. So that's something that concerns me a little bit. And one of the things that I threw out there is the Bears very well could go and pick up Lloyd Cushenberry or Connor Williams with that free agent money, which doesn't go as far as we feel like it goes. You guys need to realize that. It doesn't go very far, especially after we sign Jalen Johnson to his extension or franchise tag him. We don't have a ton left. So the value positions that we really need is that slot receiver. I'm not going to go into my mocks again. I'll do that on another video. In fact, I'll do it very soon. But we don't have a ton there. So one valuable thing we could do is we could sign one of those guys, because we've got to have an anchor at center. And then we can still get Jackson Powers Johnson. So I saw so many of you in your comments from my last mock draft say, why would we go get Lloyd Cushenberry or Connor Williams if we're just going to go draft Jackson Powers Johnson? It happens a lot in the NFL where people get converted from center to guard. I'm not saying Jackson Powers Johnson gets converted from center to guard. I'm saying he could fill in at guard because he played guard the entire 2022 season. And that sack hit hurry, instead of 458 plays, because he only had one last year. So what that stat is based off of is over the 458 passing plays that he was a part of, he only allowed one, and it was just a hurry, a pass pressure. Now, as a sophomore in 2022, he played left guard, and he allowed 2 over 182 snaps. So 91 still, which is higher than almost anybody else at elite Pac-12 competition. Jackson Powers Johnson is not going to gripe if he's playing guard instead of center or rotating, because we have to have depth. We've got to have 2 centers on this team either way. And if Nate Davis is struggling and he isn't pulling his weight like his contract, we've already talked about how that contract will be gone at the end of 2024. It is a team favorable contract. But if he's struggling, Even if he's not struggling, we could start Jackson Powers-Johnson there with Lloyd Cushenberry. Or more importantly, we could sign Connor Williams, who is elite. He's an elite center. We could sign him, let him go through his rehab, let him heal, sign him on a 5-year deal, and get a discount for it, guys. It's a value contract with the way that salary cap is going and rising. It would be a discount. It would be valuable long term. He is a quality center. You've got Jackson Powers-Johnson there filling in, and I feel like you can plug Jackson Powers-Johnson in day one and be an elite starter, and you can shift him over to guard. You can have either of them. It's not a new concept to have guards and centers play different positions at guard and center. They rotate all the time, and as long as they play elite, it's not going to be an issue. I digress. So let's take a look real quick and look at the Bears. I put 2 people up top. That's Kevin Dotson of the Rams and Robert Hunt of the Dolphins. And I put them because they're really the only 2 free agent options there are. And this isn't a free agent video, but neither of them are going to be affordable for where the Bears are, especially with Nate Davis's contract we have on the books right now. So that's not going to happen. We're going to focus on center. So neither of them are really viable options, but it shows you where they stack up in the NFL. And Kevin Dotson is really so high because he's such a high run blocking guard. There's a lot to analyze in all of this. That's not the point of what we're getting into, but we've cut Cody Whitehair. Ja'Tyre Carter is not a quality backup. He's a 4th-string guy that we'll probably keep on the roster because he's a cheap contract and he already understands the Bears system. And he did okay. He did okay at right guard. Did not do well at all at left guard. 2 pressures and 6 snaps at left guard. But at right guard, he did okay. And they only allowed 1 sack, hit, or hurry every 20 plays total. So I see us keeping him. I see us drafting a guard, and that's probably going to be Zak Zinter in my head right now. I really like Zak Zinter's sack, hit, hurries, his metrics, how he's an equally good run and pass blocker, and no penalties. I really like Zak Zinter, and I really see us picking Jackson Powers-Johnson and using him in a multiple role scenario depending on who we sign in free agency. So free agency will clear this one up a lot, but free agency is right after the combine. So for this video with the combine, I'm really watching Jackson Powers-Johnson as part of this need too, because there's not a guard worth picking up in the first 2 days of the draft. Really the first, I shouldn't say first 2 days, first 2 rounds, because Christian Haynes, Cooper Beebe, but I think Zak Zinter would be higher if he didn't have his injury, and I think that's where the combine is going to come into play for him. He's going to rise the boards a little bit in the combine. I think we'll see what happens there. But this is my analysis on the pre-combine guards. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any questions or comments, I do appreciate interacting with you guys. This is a huge need for the Bears to be able to be successful in the future. As I pointed out in my video the other night, Justin Fields is pressured more than anybody else in the NFL. On 60% of snaps that he takes, there's a pressure of any kind on his lap. That's far and above anybody else. It's not acceptable, and the Bears will focus and fix that this offseason. In free agency, in the combine, in the draft, that's going to happen. You can bank on it. With that, bear down.